Hey guys, this is Meg, and you're watching my channel. Welcome to the wild. And I wanted to introduce you to my betta Orion. He's a white veiltail, and he has yellow fins. I'm gonna have him come up to you, and you can see him better. And this tank is a tank that I bought. This was before I knew they had aquariums that had rounded edges. I don't particularly like this tank because when your hands are wet, it's easy to cut yourself on the edges. But it's, been a pretty good tank. It's about 2.5 gallons, I think. And it has a filter and a sponge. You can see the sponge that comes with it. And it also has a light, but I purchased the light separately. And I wanted to show you what a simple aquarium could look like if you have gravel. This is specifically for beginners who use gravel and they don't have any, interest in aquarium soil, or maybe they can't buy it. Like in Taiwan, you actually can't buy aquarium soil unless it's online. The only aquarium soil you can find in Taiwan, hi Orion, say hi to the audience, is a bag from Japan that's like the equivalent of $40. But I have 7 tanks and I don't want to spend the money to just put soil in my aquariums. So basically, what I did was I purchased plants that don't need soil. All of these plants that you see, they do very well with liquid fertilizer. This awesome plant is called Anubius, and they have many types of Anubius. This is just your normal Anubius. It has large leaves, it's a slow-growing plant, and it has a rhizome, which means it's a stem that goes like in a straight line. And this type of plant actually can grow in water. So if I were just to put this plant into the tank and sort of just plop it like where you see, it will float and it'll grow. And one of the reasons I use this plant is I use it to do 2 things. 1, my betta likes to sleep in it, and 2, it blocks the flow of the filter in case the filter is too strong. Now, another option for your filter is, what is that called? A filter sponge. I actually put one in my filter. And in case you guys are wondering why my filter is not on, it's because I'm not allowed to run all of my filters at the same time. I live in an old building, and the landlord's worried that with all the lights and the filters, the building might have an electrical fire. So basically, to get this awesome clear water, which is super clean, I run the filter for about an hour, and my water's great. So every day I come home from lunch, I run each tank for a little bit, and I unplug it, and then I run the others and I unplug it. Now, speaking of plants, I don't know if it's because I live in Taiwan, but I have the purple waffle plant, and for some reason it does really well in this tank. I think it's because there's not a lot of light. I haven't had any problems with melting. The roots grew, and it feeds off liquid fertilizer. And then there's this other plant that is actually supposed to grow in the back, but both of these plants are slow growing, and I actually don't know the name of this plant. I wish that I did, but plants aren't labeled in Taiwan. I usually have to do my own research. And some of you are probably looking at this water jar and wondering what it is. It's actually a betta cave, and I use the little holes to stuff in pieces of Anubius. And there's one other thing I want to show you. you can actually break down the Anubius. You can cut it into smaller pieces and you can plant it wherever you like. If you have hardscaping, you can put it in between the rocks. As long as there's a healthy rhizome and you don't bury this rhizome but you leave the roots exposed, it will continue growing. So I like to take this little piece and just stuff it back into the hole. It does quite well. And yeah, so later on I'll adjust this again. But the really cool thing about plants, well, for one thing, you don't have to worry about your betta getting cut. And as you can see, Orion likes to kind of hide through it, and you can see he's going around and kind of observing and moving through the plants. He really likes that. Yeah, so if you are wanting plants but you don't know which ones to get, I definitely recommend the Anubius. You can also get, I think they have at least 11 different types of beginner plants. And some say that waffle plants are only semi-aquatic. That's the plant you see with purple leaves and green leaves. In this tank it does well. It does well in 4 of my tanks. Another plant which I would encourage you to look into is Wisteria. Wisteria is a plant that looks kind of like parsley, and it's a stem plant. So if you stick it into the gravel, it'll grow up. If you lay the stem plant just on the surface of the water, it'll grow out. So I actually took a piece of Wisteria and I set it on the water, and it basically kind of grew out like a net, and I put a piece of Anubius on top of it. That's another tank that you're going to see later. And yeah, so this is Orion. And one of the reasons I'm making this video is, to be honest, my male bettas, they have a really hard time living. I cannot get them to live past 3 months. Flash used to live in this tank. He was a red veiltail, and I had him for maybe 2 months. It's really hard. I honestly think that most bettas, particularly males, they're put in a drinking cup. Let me give you an example. This is the cup that Orion came in. So have you ever seen the cups in Petco and things like that? People go nuts over that, which they should. But take a look at this. Now, imagine you're a betta in this cup. And the sad thing is, they used to put females into a big tank in the pet store, and they would, treat them. But now they're not doing that anymore. So basically, I have 3 healthy females. Surprisingly, 1 little male who's doing quite well. I hope he continues. And then there's Orion and his buddy Odyssey, which I haven't made a video of Odyssey, but I will. But guys, see how this betta really loves his plants? He just loves exploring and hiding and going in and out of them. And the thing about plants is, what's great about them is they can let you know how your water's doing. Like, for example, do you see how I have a yellow leaf? This may be an indication that I need a little bit more fertilizer. If you see the roots of your plants and they're starting to turn brown, this also means that your water is not clean enough because the roots are starting to die. So if you've got plants and you can see the roots and the roots are growing well, it means that your water's clean. Yeah, And this is just kind of my experience over the last 2 years. But anyways, I really hope you like the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you're a new subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. But as I said, it's really not about likes and subscribes. It's just having a record of my fish and hoping that I can sort of remember them. I take pictures, but there's something about actually seeing them swim, and remembering them. And I think that's about it. Have a great evening, morning, depending on where you are. Oh, and one thing, in case you're wondering where my heater is, well, I live in Taiwan, and the typical temperature for Taiwan is between 85 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity is insane. So basically, we don't need one. Now, I do have 7 heaters because, in America, they tell you your betta needs a heater. And if it does happen to get cold, sure, I can put one in. But it rarely ever does. So, yeah, I've got 7 heaters I don't need. If you need one, I can send it to you. Taiwan actually has the same electrical currency as America. So, if you need good heaters, yeah, I can send them to you. You'll just have to learn how to read Celsius. Anything between 26 degrees Celsius and 29 Celsius, that's what you need to keep your fish happy. Anyways, God bless you and take care.